In this lesson video, we are going to model this coffee table. First, we only need the cube object, so press Ctrl I and then just delete them. And just like before, because we will be working with a relatively small object, let's change the grid size to 10 centimeters by changing this value here to 0.1. Then press N to open the sidebar panel. In the View tab, change this clip start value to 0.01. Next, we want to change the dimension of the cube object. For the width or the X dimension, it should be 120 centimeters. So just type in 1.2, then press Tab. For the depth, it should be 70 centimeters. Press Tab. Finally, for the height, type in 0.4 or 40 centimeters. And as always, after changing the dimension, you should apply the scale. So Ctrl A and choose Scale here. Now, we have all of the scale values back to 1, but with the correct dimension. Next, you may notice that the origin of the object is at the center. We want it to be at the bottom. This way, it will be easier to calculate the height, and also when later we need to place the object on the floor. So to do this, we need to use vertex snapping mode. Activate the Move tool. Then on the Options panel up here, in the Effect Only section, choose Origin here. Due to this, when we move an object, the object will not move, only the origin of it will move. Now, we want to move this origin down and snap to this vertex. So move it down along the Z-axis and then hold Ctrl and move the mouse cursor to this vertex. Before we continue modeling, don't forget to turn off the Effect Only Origin option. Although this option only works in the object mode and not in the edit mode, but it is always better to turn this off when we don't need it just to be safe. Now, because we have the origin positioned at the bottom, we can place our object at the floor precisely by entering 0 in the Z-coordinate. Our object is not penetrating the ground floor anymore. Next, let's create the tabletop. Press Tab to go to the edit mode, go to face mode, and select the bottom face here. Now, we want to move this up so that from the top face, it is 7 centimeters away. For this, we can let Blender do the math for us. We know the top face is 40 centimeters in height, so type 40 centimeters, then minus, then 7, then enter. So now we have 33 centimeters height for the bottom face. I know we can just type in the value, but just imagine working on a larger scene with larger numbers. Having Blender to do the math for us can really speed up our workflow, okay? So we have 7 centimeters thickness for the tabletop. Basically, the tabletop is done. For the legs, we can go to the edge mode and select this edge and then extrude it on the Z-axis. Oh yes, I don't think I have explained this before. The edge and vertex extrusions are different from the face extrusion. If you are extruding a face, because a face has a normal direction, if you press E to extrude, Blender will use the normal direction to constrain the extrusion automatically. So you don't really need to press any letter key to do axis constraint. But if you do this on an edge, let me undo this first. If you have an edge selected and then press E, the extrusion will not have any default direction. You can go anywhere by moving the mouse. So if you want it to go down vertically, you need to press Z. Now it moves straight as it uses Z-axis as the constraint. Next, we need to place this on the floor. So just input 0 on the Z-coordinate. Next, to make our life easier, that is, so we can select these vertices without accidentally selecting the vertices at the tabletop, we can separate the face as a new object. So go to face mode and select this face. Press P and choose selection here. Now, if we go to the object mode, we have two objects, this one and this one. Select this one and press Tab to go to the edit mode. Press 1 in the numpad to go to the front view. Go to vertex selection mode. Press A to select all. Then press Shift Ctrl B to do vertex bevel. Drag this out and scroll the mouse until we have about 5 segments in a bevel area. Now, we want the bevel depth here to be exactly 5 centimeters. Go to the operator panel and in the width input field, type in 5 centimeters and then enter. Next, we want to extrude only on the edges, not the face. So, we can go to the face selection mode, select the face, press X, and choose this option, only faces. This will remove only the face. Notice if we go to vertex mode, we can still see the vertices and the edges. Select all, and we want to extrude them along the y-axis. So press E. Now it is in the free mode as you can see here. Press Y to constrain it to y-axis. And at this stage, you can type in the extrusion value on the fly. So type 0.07 and then enter. We can see we just inputted 7 centimeters for the extrusion length on the y-axis. Next, we want to mirror it that way on the y-axis. Go to the object mode, add modifier, and choose mirror here. Again, we want to mirror on the y-axis, not the x-axis. Turn on the bisect also, and then the flip option here. Now we have 2 legs. Next, let's turn on the clipping option as we are going to create the part that bridges the 2 legs. Go to edit mode, Ctrl R in this area. Left click and then right click to cancel the sliding. Press Ctrl B to bevel the edge. We want this to be 7 centimeters in width. So what we need to do now is to input half of 7 centimeters in the width input field. So type in 0.035. And we only need 1 segment now. So now we have something like this. Next, let me collapse this for now. Go to the edge mode, select this edge, and then press E. Because we are extruding an edge, we need to press Y, so we get a straight result. And because the mirror modifier now uses clipping, we can easily snap this to the center. After it is done, we can add thickness to it using the solidify modifier. Let me collapse this mirror modifier, and let's add the solidify modifier. For the thickness, we want this to be 1 centimeter. Currently, it is already set to 1 centimeter by default, so we don't need to change anything. The last modifier we want to add is the bevel modifier. Choose angle here, and for the width, we only need 1 millimeter. You can type in 1 millimeter or type in 0.001. So we have these small bevels on the legs. Next, we also want to add a bevel modifier on the tabletop object. Now, for the tabletop, using angle or none here is actually the same as we want all of the edges to get beveled. For the width, let's use 5 millimeters. I think this is too big. Let's try at 3 millimeters. Okay, I think 3 millimeters is good. Next, if we want to combine the tabletop and the legs into a single object, we need to apply the modifiers first. So apply this bevel modifier. For the legs object, we need to apply the modifier from top to bottom. So apply the mirror, then the solidify, and finally the bevel modifier. Hold Shift and select the tabletop object. Then press Ctrl J to combine the objects. We can rename the object by double-clicking on it in the outliner. Let's name it Coffee Table. The last thing that we need to fix is the smoothing group. We can still see these faceted polygons on the legs. So right-click and choose Shade Smooth. And as always, we can turn on the Auto Smooth option in the data panel. Okay, I guess we are done now.